So many times in my life, in our life, in everyone's life, we're faced with the choice of what comes next. What road do we take? What path do we choose? After getting to your destination, do you say, I finally got here? Or, how the heck did I get here? Or, maybe even, how do I get out of here? I'm Father Francis Rella, and join me and my daughter Maria, the lawyer, and my other daughter Rose, the actor/artist, as we talk about choosing the right path and sometimes the wrong path. In this episode of Life with Father.
Welcome to Life with Father, with our host, Father Francis Rella, a priest of the Byzantine Catholic Eparchy of Passaic, New Jersey, and Roman Catholic Archdiocese for the Military Services. Join Father Rella each episode as he explores the joys of fatherhood and the challenges of being a priest, parent, nurse practitioner, therapist, chaplain, and a military officer. Meet his family and friends as each member contributes serving church, community, and the world that God created. And now, here is Father Rella.
I eventually got into a conservatory training program at the neighborhood playhouse, School of the Theater, and that was an interesting time, to be sure.
Well, just cut ahead for a second. You know, you did all of that, and then I think you and I had a conversation. I said, you know, if you're going to be an actor, go get some kind of day job because you need to make money. And then you started, went back to sciences again. Started studying for to go nursing school.
All
right?
of my prerequisites for nursing school. I was working as an EMT and a theater usher and doing cantering and the Air Force still. And Dad's like, why don't you just go take the LSAT? Because I was kind of miserable doing healthcare, and I love the sciences, but I think just the dealing with people aspect. And I mean, it's not like it's better now, but you're.
Yeah, people say all the time, you know, there'll be priests or doctors. They'll say, you know what, I love this job, but I just hate people. You don't hate people. You hate to have to deal with people sometimes. But yeah. So I was just looking at it. Looking back at that, I said, it took so long for you to do the prerequisites, and then they said you have to wait 2 years before you even start.
Yeah.
So I said, as long as you're going to wait 2 years. Take the LSAT. I mean, you'll be almost done with law school in 2 years if you get in. So, and you kind of took it as on a whim, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I was like, okay, this seems kind of cool. Let me just give it a shot.
First you said, no, I never want to be a lawyer. I said, Maria, I will pay for the LSAT. Just take it. See what you get. And I knew she was so good at taking tests that if she got a good grade and, because it all goes out to different schools, she starts getting scholarships. She's going to think about going to law school, so it was my great plan.
Yeah, no, it
evil plan.
It worked because I did okay the first time, and then I was like, all right, I can do better than this, and I improved my score by 8 points, which ended up being $10,000 more in scholarship money from the school I ended up eventually going to. I went to Toro University. Now it was Toro College when I went, but it's now a university. Their law school in Central Islip. What is the name of my law school?
Benjamin Cardozo.
Jacob D. Fuchsberg.
Benjamin Cardozo is in Manhattan, Yeshiva University.
Yeah.
I know because I wanted to go there too.
I had no idea.
I did, but I wasn't smart enough to be a lawyer. So
you're smart enough.
Yeah, I'm not.
No,
but thank you.
Law school was a lot. I learned so much about life, about myself, about the law. After my first year of law school, I did pretty well my first semester, and then my second semester, I just struggled so hard, especially with my anxiety about writing assignments. It was just paralyzing fear of having to sit down and write something, and then just the starting of it completely, and knowing how much I had to do and how little time I had to do it in, it caused me to just sit there in panic instead of doing anything.
Well, right in the middle of this, you were going to law school for the first 3 semesters, I think? And then COVID hit.
COVID hit my 3rd semester, So, Zoom School of Law for a year and a half. And I got to go back for my last semester full-time and in person. And I failed the bar the first time because I had COVID that January, and I took it in February, so I didn't really have that much time to study COVID brain. It's so fun. But then I did well the second time and I passed, and yeah, it was a lot of hard work, but definitely worth it. And
Then you clerked for a judge. Well, first you were supposed to be assistant district attorney in the Bronx.
Yes.
And that was a 5-hour commute one way. So I said, that's probably not the best thing to do. Then you got a job clerking for a judge, and we're not going to talk about that. And then, well, but that was a lot of fun experience.
Yes,
For that. But anyway, you ended up where you ended up, doing this kind of law. And, it's almost like doing pro bono law and getting paid for it.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
because you're helping out a lot of people. You say, well, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal if somebody's going to get thrown out of their house to just put a stay of execution on that and maybe let them work it out.
Yeah.
I mean, so the person's not homeless. So what a great thing, great thing to do. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love what I do. I work with some really kind people, and it's definitely the best work environment I've been in yet. So I'm very happy.
You're doing God's work. I mean, you really are. Even in the gospel, a lot of times the lawyers are not seen in the best way, but they're not.
I mean, without any sort of system, whether that's government or the military
Right.
or the judiciary, whatever system exists, yes, there are problems with it, but it would be way worse if there were
Right.
no systems in place to regulate things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you take the politics out of it. Speaking of politics, in my family, we are very diverse in politics. But this is our dining room table, and this is where every issue in the world gets settled. We can just solve every problem there is. But we try to do it respectfully. I'll give you a hint. I'm not going to count Richie because he's 14 years old. He's going to be 15 this month. But
But he can't vote yet.
he can't vote yet. But and he just kind of likes. He says, well, Donald Trump was president. Now it's Mike Pence's turn. And then when it's Joe Biden's turn, now it's the new vice president's turn. He'll just go on and on like that. So he doesn't really understand it. And maybe it's a better thing to do if you don't understand it.
Yeah.
But in our family. There, and the four of us, and I'm not going to tell you which is which, and I think I talked about this last week. There's somebody that's just a little to the right. There's somebody just a little to the left, and then there's somebody that's way more to the left and way more to the right. And we get along. I mean, because we care about our country. I think we really care, and we respect each other. But at the same time, I think there's a possibility that we can all do this as a country.
Yeah, I think so many times, especially in the age of social media, people are like, oh, if you have this disparate view to me, I can't be your family member, I can't be your friend anymore.
Family member, yeah.
And I'm like, that's not how the world works. That's not how God wants it to be.
No.
It's not, that's just a frustrating thing that you see.
It
more
is,
and more.
Family's not going to be here forever. You never know how long you're going to have, your parents. That's what I think, because it's
Okay.
No, I mean...
Well, mom's in the other room. Let me get mom and tell her that. But no, I understand.
Oh, she'll make a face at me. Except I'm like her old again.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's so true. Is that I think, and I put something on social media the other day, and it's really true. Is that we have to get out of the mindset of winning arguments and get into the real mindset of solving problems. We have a lot of problems in the United States right now, and you're part of the solution when you decide that, hey, you know what? I'm gonna write. I'm gonna be a lawyer. I'm gonna be in the military. You do some kind of civil service or some kind of community service instead of just criticizing and demonizing the other person.
Right.
Now, I remember being in an airport during early days of the war. It was got to be around 2006. So we were still doing some heavy duty fighting. And at the time, they told us, when you travel, we want you to travel, believe it or not, in your ABUs, in your uniform, because we want the people to know that there's a war going on. We want to remind the civilians that there's a war going on, and that people are making sacrifices. So I was walking through, and there was this reporter there, and he wanted to get a story out of me so badly. And he was like, you're a Republican, right? And I'm like, oh, how do you know that? And you don't know that. He said, well, you wouldn't be in uniform if you weren't. And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I'm a lifetime Democrat. Yeah. And the guy's face fell off and he said, well, why are you doing this? And I'm like, well, this is my country too, and I may not agree with every decision that's being made, but I do believe that this is a way to be part of the solution. And at the time, I was a nurse in the Air Force, and that was pretty important. I remember my first deployment. We were back in the rear with the gear. We were in a rear area, but we were doing mostly elective surgeries during that time period. And back then, they wouldn't let you go for more than 90 days if you were a medical person, because they figured you're ineffective after that point because you're seeing so much stuff. Now, I didn't see a lot of stuff, certainly, but what I did see was that they were sending people back to us that had really serious shrapnel wounds. And part of it was actually taking pieces of shrapnel every day from somebody's back. It was so far deep in, it would surface, and then you have to take it out, and you have to clean it and everything else like that. And I can't even tell you how horrific it was for some of these kids seeing them with these wounds, and then the smells and everything else like that. But I remember that what your Nanon taught you, what your grandmother taught you, is that you have to address somebody's soul. Stop looking at them if they're disgusting or they're horrible or it's a horrible situation, or you're seeing somebody that you really disagree with, on every single level. You got to look at the person's soul and say, it's a soul that God gave somebody, and I have to respect that soul. Even if the person is completely disrespectful and you can't respect them, you still have to say, I'm going to help this person out any way I can, and not get into the personality part of it. I don't agree with you, why did you vote for this person?
Right, you're a horrible person because you believe this thing.
Now, if you look at New Jersey for a second, right? Everybody gets so tense about, electing a Republican, electing a Democrat. Probably in our lifetime, they're never gonna get the electoral votes, the Republican Party in the state of New Jersey. So what do? Okay, if you're a Republican, you want to vote for Republican, but you got to know that it's not going to really make a difference. That the things that really make a difference are the local votes. Later on today, we're going to go see. We can't talk about spoilers and stuff like that.
Oh no!
Unless you read the Bible before.
Exactly. But we're going to see the last episodes of The Chosen for this year.
Season 4, and I am actually somebody who hasn't really watched much of the series up till this point. I've only watched a few episodes here and there. I started watching from the beginning, but it's just such a well done series. Portraying Jesus' life and ministry from the time that he was an adult and finding the apostles and who
are the chosen, right?
Yes. Yeah. And obviously it's a story, it's a narrative. They're gonna make things that are not exactly perfectly strictly biblical. And
this is what people say, well, that's not my Jesus. That isn't Jesus of the Bible. First of all, I don't know who your Jesus is. I mean, Jesus is Jesus. But as far as it's a movie. It's a portrayal.
Right.
It's not dogma, but it's a very good depiction of what Jesus was really about, his message.
And it's making faith more accessible to people and popularizing, the use of, there's this app called Hallow, and it's like a daily prayer and reflection, and there are so many celebrities connected with it, and it just making faith more mainstream in a way that I don't think a show has done in a really long time.
No, I think it's just it could be appealing to anybody because it's done so well. I think, and just a biopic isn't 100% accurate to the person they're portraying.
Right.
It's not a documentary.
Right.
It's not going back in time.
But I think that the essential message that they're giving about Christ and about the church, and about the apostles certainly is accurate.
Yeah.
It's accurate. And I'm sure if anybody's listening to this or watching this, they're gonna say, "Oh, Father, but they did this and they did that." Yeah, I know. There's some things he's under the tree and he's talking. And Christ says to him later on, "Well, I heard you when you were there. I saw." It's not completely accurate, but he did hear him. He did see him. It doesn't have to be written there. God sees everything. God hears everything. And he didn't have to get into the details about that. But what's amazing is that, he says, he was a big skeptic of it and said, well, if he can do that, he must be God, right? And that's the message we want people to hear,
Right.
That he probably is God, I think he is God. I know he is God, but the people that don't or have doubts about it kind of strengthens that, and it makes you go to the Bible and look it up and say, okay, so what really happened?
Yeah.
And I think it enhances your experience as a Christian, or even in a historical sense. I think it enhances your knowledge of Jesus and what he did and how powerful he was. And when you look at this thing, it was crowdfunded originally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty incredible. I think, a lot of times people don't like the appeal because I have to say it does have a Catholic slant. It really does. And it's okay for me because this is what I believe.
Right. I think the perspective of somebody who is a Protestant or some other non-denominational faith or some other denomination of Christianity might, have a different take on it. We're all Catholic, so the way we think is sort of more aligned with how it's portrayed. So obviously we're going to like it and agree with it more than somebody who maybe has slightly different religious views. But objectively, taking the everything has to be perfect in faith out of it, it's a great portrayal of the biblical story, cinematically, acting wise, and just it's just so well done.
It really is, yeah. And the actor's great.
Yeah.
No big names in it, so it's almost better.
Yeah.
Because you don't, say, well, this is so and so playing this character. No, I mean it's not that they're unknown, but they have no movie stars there.
Yeah.
And again, who would make this picture?
Yeah.
Not today. Disney's not going to make it.
No, definitely not.
I don't know, bash Disney. I love Disney, but the big studios are not going to make it. But maybe some will now. But the people are not going to make this picture, and and what's great about it is you have a lot of Jewish actors in it. You have a lot of Muslim actors in it.
Yeah.
So it must be fun for them. On some level to portray that. I think the way that they portray the Jewish character, well, one of the Jewish characters, Jesus is a Jewish character, but I'm talking about, like the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees and the Sadducees. It's really cool. You almost can look at it from their perspective and say, yeah, I can see how this would really disturb them.
Yeah.
I remember a rabbi once saying to me, a good friend, and he said to me, I love Jesus Christ. Everything about him. I love him. I love the stuff that he did, the stuff that he said. It's so messianic and everything. He said, but the problem for me is at every Jew, and the reason that he was crucified, not by the Jewish people, but by Romans. So we'll take responsibility for that. Being an Italian, a Greek Italian, but the reason he was crucified is because he said he was the Son of God, and he was equal to God. Then, so that's just blasphemy, unless you really are the Son of God. And no matter what he did, I mean, he showed so many different miracles, but people couldn't accept it. They couldn't. They couldn't. You think about people not accepting Jesus now, and say, "Oh, how can they not accept Jesus?" There were people that saw what he did. They witnessed what he did. He did that to them. He cured them. He healed them. And and they said maybe he's not really who he is. So this is problematic. But what a great show. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of this season and the 7 seasons. And I'm hoping I can, my Screen Actors Guild card is still, active, and I hope I can get, at least to be an extra on it. I would just love to be that.
Gosh,
Me too.
To say I was an extra on The Chosen, but and just to see how they do it.
I know you said the big studios won't make it. Yeah, they have actually kind of recently, but I think Angel Studios is doing it way better.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that
there were a couple of things that came out in the past couple of years, but I don't think it was. Actually, two different things with Joaquin Phoenix. Actually, one about Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
Okay.
and one about Noah's Ark, but I think
Okay, yeah, you're right.
they did it better.
Speaking of Joaquin Phoenix,
Oh my God.
there's no words that I could say. I mean, he's such a good actor, but
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh,
he's a great actor. You know, and you can't get, you know, his personality is bigger than life, I think. So that kind of turns people up. But you know, I'm dying to see Napoleon.
Yeah, we gotta watch that.
Now, there's places that you can go to that all curses are out and all the other scenes are out. But I would say this. V-Chip is called?
No, that was the one in the 90s.
No, there's a new place that you can go to. That you can go to and you can get all, you know, the curse words out and also, you know, the unsavory things that you might see. But you know what? There's also, you know, you have a pause button and you have a
Fast forward.
Fast forward, yeah. Just click over it. You know, everything seems to be rated R and above now, and so you have to really watch what you're watching, and it's awful. I mean, I'll be watching stuff with you guys, and I'll be like, okay, let's take this and put, you know,
Yeah.
and it could be something that's even PG. That
Yeah,
you know,
or PG-13, and
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
oh, it's fine, and then you're like, oh, I forgot about this one scene.
should be watching my
Okay,
daughters
let me,
should be watching with my dad. You know, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta
So
pre-screen
comfortable.
stuff now before you watch it with the parents.
I don't even
Unless
like
it's
watching
like
it, yeah.
unless it's like Bake Off.
So anyway, this is a good thing. I want to see him in that.
Yeah.
It's too bad he didn't get nominated for Best Actor.
Yeah, I know, I heard that.
Yeah.
He got nominated for something else,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, he didn't get nominated for Best Actor. It looks
Joker.
like an incredible thing. So,
But he got Joker. He got that.
Okay.
He won for Best
What
Was
Actor.
can
it
you tell us?
maybe, was it too late in the
No.
voting season? It wasn't?
No, they only got nominated for 3 minor
Oh.
things. You know, and this is Ridley Scott, right?
Yeah.
Ridley Scott, incredible. I was reading this.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Alfred Hitchcock. A couple of other ones too, really famous directors. He's never won an Academy Award.
Really?
Wow.
Think about it.
That's wild.
I mean, the thing is, I want to say, I don't need a committee of people telling me like what movies.
Yeah, but
are
it's
good.
nice if they do.
It is nice.
It's nice if your
Yeah.
peers recognize
And to be at
the
that level,
influence,
too.
right? That you have so much breadth of things that you've created
Right.
that are so lauded by the community,
Right.
and not having that final highest accolade.
Sure.
Like
That's
it
the thing.
took like 90 years for Ennio Morricone to finally get an Oscar for his scoring.
Really?
He was in his 90s then.
Wow. Well, Ridley Scott's 86, I think.
Oh, yeah.
86 years old. So this may be the last shot for him. I know. Hope it isn't. I hope he
Yeah.
does more. Just so he can get that award. They were like, well, we're going to give him an honorary Oscar this year. I'm like, what the heck? And he even said like, you know, no thanks. You know,
No
I'm good.
consolation prizes here.
You know, Lifetime Achievement Award he already got. You know, Directors Guild, I think. So anyway, that's a good movie to watch. There's a lot of good stuff out, I think, right now on Apple TV. You know, good stuff. All these different series that The Crown is out, right?
Yeah, I haven't watched
Crown.
that.
I haven't watched it yet either. So no spoilers, please. A really good series that's out right now is Masters of the Air. You
I
have to watch
haven't
that.
started that yet.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
Masters of the
though.
Air is really great. You know, the same people that did Band of Brothers and did the Pacific. You know, I love Band of Brothers. Pacific, it was just really horrible. It was just hard. I mean, it was all about these love stories and people taking their clothes off and all kinds of things. And it's just like, I just want to see the Marines fighting these battles. I'm a former Marine. So I want to see, you know, I understand all this stuff happened, but, you know, it was just all this gratuitous stuff going on, and it didn't have to go on, I don't think. But Masters of the Air is not like that. You know, I think it's safe to watch. I've watched the first 7 episodes, and safe in terms of it's not going to embarrass you if you see something.
Yeah.
You know, some of the language
Mom and grandma.
The thing that really disturbed me about it is that I guess because I'm an Air Force chaplain and I was around a lot of pilots that were going on combat missions and everything, and the thing that was most disturbing to me was that you saw these boys getting just blown up. I mean, just massive casualties, and that was really hard to watch.
Yeah.
I was going for voice. I mean, I kind of played piano enough to to accompany myself and learn music, but I played baritone horn. I went for lessons for baritone horn and trombone, but nothing, nothing as far as instrumental music at the level that your mother can do it. She's she's as good as Bradford Marsalis. I mean, she really is. I'm not just saying that, but she really is. When she was studying, they asked her to play in the pit at Broadway shows, and at the time she had you guys, and she didn't have the confidence to do it. I mean, she really didn't. I think that that was the big thing, is that she didn't think she was good enough to do it, but everybody around her thought she was good enough to do it. So and
it's so funny. Half the battle in doing any sort of performing is just believing that you have it and that you are good enough.
Right.
And just letting go and not overthinking everything and just being there and trusting that you have enough training, you have enough chutzpah, whatever. Believing that you can do it.
Well, there's some people that I knew some people that we would say they had limited talent, but they had such tremendous personalities and self confidence.
Yes.
That it didn't matter how much talent you had. I mean, these people
you need relentless self-belief to be an actor.
And they would get out there and they get job after job. And you say, why is this person getting a job all the time? They're okay, but in my opinion, they're okay. But they had the it factor. They'd go into an audition, they would be so polished, so confident, they'd say, yep, I want to hire that guy, or that girl, and so you can have all talent in the world, but if you don't have that self-confidence, that's going to deter you from being successful at anything. A lot of people think that they're better than they are. I never think I'm that good. I think I'm an imposter syndrome all the time. No matter how many. My brother once said to me, I have multiple degrees hanging on the wall, and he said, how many pieces of paper are you going to get before you think that you're smart? I'm like, well,
he was right.
Never-ending amount of papers, because I don't think I'm smart.
And then too, we everybody, but I think women especially, tend to compare ourselves to other people,
right?
Or even past versions of ourselves, and be like, oh well, you know what? I was thinner here. I was smarter here. I worked harder here.
Right.
Just trust that God has given you the gifts and you've fostered them enough and that you deserve to be where you are doing what you're doing. It's the hardest thing in the world, but if you can remind yourself of that daily, life is a lot happier.
Well, that's where faith comes in, I think, is that you have to really have trust in God. You have to have faith that, God put you there for a reason, and whether you think you're good enough or not, you're there.
Yeah.
So, you're on. The stage manager says to you, hey, Frank, you're on. And I'm standing in the wings, and I say to him, I am? How am I doing? Because I'm not on yet. But, God put you there, and it's for a reason. And even if you think you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, you're not handsome enough, you're not talented enough, if God puts you there, that's your path, and you're going to go far with it, and you can help God out. That's the whole thing, too, is that, God does what he does as God, but we have to do what we do as man.
Right, and that's why we have free will, because otherwise God would just be like, ooh, we're puppets.
We'd be puppets, puppet people, And that's what a lot of people say, and that's, we get into other things, you say, well, how come God allowed this to happen? How come God allowed 9/11 to happen? Well, in a way, he did allow it to happen by giving us free will.
Right.
He couldn't step in the way. Well, he could have stepped in the way, yeah, certainly. But then, it's like in Star Trek, the prime directive.
Yeah.
God adheres to the prime directive.
Yeah, he's like, not interfering.
Non-interference. And when he does, we don't know why he does.
Right.
We don't know why, Jesus only brought back to life certain people and let others, remain dead.
Yeah.
We don't know why that happens. And it's not for us to question. It's just that
it's not for us to contemplate. I mean, we can, but then, you always get stuck in like a what if loop of like, oh, okay, why? There's something terrible happens, somebody dies, somebody gets cancer, whatever tragic thing happens. You don't know how that's going to affect that person, affect other people around them, and eventually in the future maybe lead to something amazing and wonderful and useful.
Yeah, I don't think, if I didn't have, heart problems, and I didn't get saved by, whoever saved me, the paramedics that saved me, I never would have become a paramedic. Yeah. And if I never became a paramedic, I never would have been at the North Tower on 9/11. I
Never
never
would've
would have went
written
into the
your first
military. I never would have been, I never would have become a nurse practitioner. I never would have become a priest, probably.
Exactly.
So all of that bad stuff had to happen to me in order for me to be where I'm at.
Right.
And it's unfortunate. You wish you can be where you're at without having to break that many eggs, but eggs get broken.
Yeah, and you go through your trials and tribulations in life, and again, it would be great to not have to go
Sure.
through things,
Yeah.
but that's not how life is.
It's unfortunate because you especially when you have children, you see your children going through stuff. It's worse. You wish that it would happen to you rather than them. But you understand that good things can come out of really horrible situations. I asked Rose this before, and you were in college, you were going through all of these things. So what brought you really back to, what brought you closer to God?
I mean, I think at different times in my life, I've been more active in my faith. I don't think I've ever been at a point where I'm like, I don't believe in God. There's just been definitely times where I'm not as practicing. I wouldn't,
Sure.
I maybe wouldn't go to church every Sunday. I'm very lucky that because you were a priest in most of my adulthood, church was kind of a given. But I'm very lucky that there were times I doubt in terms of myself and getting feeling badly about myself and not letting God help me or other people help me.
Right. And we get into trouble when we push God out. So
Right, exactly, and then
all of us do.
eventually things I get back to being closer to God. Even now, I haven't been as active, but coming, seeing The Chosen, using the Hallow app, being able to be more active in church with choir and Bible study, and it's definitely reinvigorated my faith in a way that it hasn't been, going through law school because
Sure.
I was so busy. I wouldn't go to church every Sunday.
And being a lawyer too is, you're a Catholic lawyer. That's different.
Yeah.
That's different. Not to say Jewish lawyers are not as good, or Protestant lawyers, or atheist lawyers. It's not saying that, but you have a different slant on the law and helping people. Not that we do it better, probably not. I like to think we do it better, but what it is that part of your Catholic faith is ingrained in what you do as a lawyer. Is that there's certain things you can do and there's certain things you never do because you're a Catholic.
Right. No, I mean, and one of the tenets of legal ethics is that if you find something morally objectionable, you are allowed to refuse doing that. And that's why I would never be a defense attorney, because like a criminal defense attorney, because I would not feel comfortable defending somebody that potentially committed a crime against somebody else, and if it was something that was really heinous, I don't think I would be comfortable with that at all.
No, right.
And that's why when I did think I wanted to practice criminal law, I wanted to be a prosecutor. But I do civil defense.
Sure. No, absolutely. And we have to have limitations over do. As an actor too. I mean, would you? I would never. Not that anybody would want to see me, but I would never. Do something where I take my clothes off. I mean, just couldn't do it as an actor.
No.
Because and they said, well, we'll get you a body double. Well, I don't think anybody has a body like mine, but so it's gonna be a little bit hard. But to do it to a body double, it's still somebody seeing you as that.
Right.
And it would be too, is that I always remember somebody saying, if you can't invite your mother to come see you, you probably shouldn't be doing whatever role that is, And I played some bad people,
Right.
But it was within the context of the thing, But it would be very, very difficult for me to play certain roles.
I get that.
And I that's where I drew the line, because I did get offered some things, and I said, no, this is the part I really can't do. Speaking of being offered some things, I was offered to be the VJ on MTV.
One of the original VJs
Yeah.
on
Original
TV.
VJ. Talk about, not that I make great decisions, that's why I'm bringing this up right now. Because somebody offered it to me, and I was working as an actor, I was working as a stage actor in New York, and I was really happy, and I was getting paid, and I was, it was a regular job. and somebody said, would you like to be a VJ? And they told me the money. It was about the same as what I was making as a stage actor at the time. And I said, that's not because of the money. I said, I just don't think that seeing this thing get off the ground. It's a cable show, and what are you going to do? You're going to be doing video? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me,
And also, Dad was never really that into pop music.
I was not. No. We're going to fish out of water. It probably would have lasted a couple of weeks. But anyway, after about 4 weeks, a girl came back to me and she said, this has been a real success. I said, don't rub it in. I said, cut it out. She said, no, it really has. She said, actually, the guy that took the job that you didn't take, they just offered him a second year. And I think it was going to be $180 a week or $185 a week. And after like a month, this guy did this job. I remember the guy's name, but anyway, it was the second year he was going to be making $500,000 a year. And at the time, this is 1981.
Oh my gosh.
$500,000 a year. So I probably would have been set. But I wouldn't have been a paramedic. I wouldn't have been a priest. So God has a plan.
Yeah.
But I'm just getting back to, me being really good about my career and the great career choices that I made. And I can go on and on, but this is going to have a short radio show.
I think we need to interview you next because you had so many different career paths.
Well, maybe, but not next. I think next time we're going to have one of my nephews or nieces on, and they're going to talk about their life with me, their life with Father. So thank you so much. I'm proud of both of you girls.
Thank you, Daddy.
Come back soon. I know Rosie's going to be here. You're really busy, but I'd like to have you both back anytime you can be on it.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
This has been great.
So how do we know what we're doing is the right path? The path that God has chosen for us and known about before all time? The answer is, I don't know. Gee, Father, that's a big help. What I do know is that once you find it, almost every door will open for you. There'll be so many obstacles that you can get around and over and under, and you will find peace and joy. Does that mean there has to be just one path in life? Well, no. I got dozens of paths. And there'll be more roads in my future, I hope. Last week I was at a band concert, and they played a march called the Armed Forces Medley. And the conductor asked the military veterans in the audience to stand while the song for their branch of the service was being played. Well, I had to stand 5 times. Once for the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Coast Guard, and finally, the Air Force. There was no Space Force march in the medley. Well, not yet. I would have had a chance to stay seated. But people looked at me as either I was lying or just didn't get the whole concept. And I thought about sitting down. I thought about walking out because I was a little bit embarrassed standing that many times. But I was standing in honor of the 5 branches of the military that I served in the past 45 years. And 2 where I still serve, the Air Force Reserve and the Coast Guard Auxiliary. But where was God's path in my military career? Where was that one path? Some people say that I never really found out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And many shook their heads throughout my life. Maybe they were right, and maybe that was true. But the real answer is this. God took me on many journeys, and I learned a lot. And I met and worked with diverse, creative, talented, courageous, holy, and decent people. And I helped others along the way. And their goodness made me good. I had great times, and I had good times, and once in a while some bad days too. But my advice is this. Don't be afraid to take that step in the dark. Don't be afraid to try something new or to experiment and pursue a new career or a brand new path. Learn from your past history, but don't let the mistakes of your past define you. That's what the devil wants. He wants us to only remember our mistakes. But God forgives. He forgives over and over again. It doesn't matter how old or young you are. God is waiting at each road, and he will guide you if you ask. Hey, maybe one day I'll be in the Space Force. I'm still young. If we allow God into our choices, we will do his work, even if it is one of the many wrong paths or side roads that we travel in life. The journey is the thing that's most important, and the people we love along the way. God bless and keep you until the next time. And please contact me if you have any special prayer requests. May Almighty God send out his Holy Spirit into your lives, and may you feel the love and the mercy of his beloved Son. Amen.
This is Rose Rella, co-producer and editor of Life with Father. Thank you for listening and or watching. Join us each month for a brand new episode. Please feel free to contact Father Francis Rella on his Facebook page. Be sure to subscribe and like wherever you get your podcasts or podcast videos.